Hey, what's up everybody? It's Luke and you're watching Luke the Gathering. Thanks for checking out the channel, and today just got back from Friday Night Magic. It was the first draft of Ixalan, the Lost Caves of Ixalan, or Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and I had a great time. I went 2-1. I was very happy with the result. 3-0 is always great, but 2-1, I'm always going to be happy with that. Magic is a tough game, and to go 2-1 is, I think, I'm just very happy with that. In any case, I've watched a lot of Magic commentators and Magic channels talking about the different archetypes in the Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and they talk a lot about crafting being big, like blue and white, and red and white being good decks because they have a lot of trinkety artifacts that you can craft with, or tap down for the red-white tapping deck because that's a big deck apparently. I've played it on Arena and it works pretty well. You also have the Descended decks that I think some YouTubers are more down on, but we also have archetypes that just aren't really a thing, and this week I played Selesnya, which is green and white, and it's not really a thing. People don't talk about that deck archetype because it's just not a thing. It's like toughness matters kind of an archetype. Oops, sorry about that. Getting some text here. But it's not really a thing, Selesnya. It just isn't. And but the cards that came to me sort of led me to Selesnya, and the deck did extremely well. Even though I was 2-1, I think I could have easily been 3-0. In one of the rounds, it just came down really, really close, and it could have been anybody's game. And thus is Magic. You get a little land flooded. That's what happened to me in the third match in that round, and I lost, which is fine. I wasn't unhappy about it. That's just the way the game is. But in any case, I pulled some really great Selesnya cards. And so these Selesnya cards put me into Selesnya, and it actually does have an archetype. It's kind of like Selesnya counters, like you're putting counters on stuff. A lot of green cards, like there's the green card that I got that you can move counters around your creatures and put counters on creatures, and that was really awesome. And I got a chance to do that, and it was powerful. And combined with some of the white cards I got, it was a great time. And so I don't know if I'll ever be able to put this deck together again, but I was able to get it together this week, and it was awesome. So let's check out the deck and what made it up. All right, starting things off, we have the Hidden Nursery, and the Hidden Nursery comes into the battlefield tapped. It's a cave. There's a cave for every color. You can tap it to add the color. So in this case, green. You could also pay 4 in that color, in this case, green. Tap it, you can sack it to discover 4. I find that is a fantastic little thing that these things have in Limited, especially if you're just kind of stalling out. It gives you something to do and possibly put onto the battlefield that has some significance. So, didn't come into play today, but it's good to have in the deck. Miner's Guidewing. This is a cool little 1-drop. It's a flyer, so whenever you have little 1-drops, these are awesome for tacking on equipment to. And so Miner's Guidewing has flying and vigilance. So it's a 1/1 that just chips in a whole bunch of times. And when it dies, you can even make something else explore. And guess what? I got 4 of these bad boys. That is unusual. I just saw them and I would just take them, because starting the game off with this feels great. And not only this, but I also got a Ruin Lurker bat, another 1-drop flyer, but this one with lifelink. Actually, I wish I had 4 of these, and one of those maybe would have been a little bit more heinous, because that lifelink is just amazing. But at the beginning of the end stuff, if you descended this turn, that means if you put a permanent card into the graveyard from anywhere, this thing lets you scry one, which is great. The top end of my deck was this Cavern Stomper. It's a 6-drop, but I wasn't too worried about getting the lands into play, so one of my couple cards that have this high mana value, but I was able to get it onto the battlefield. This card is your green archetype with counters. It's great. This thing enters the battlefield. It comes with 2+1/+1 counters on it. You tap it, and then whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter dies, or no, sorry, that's not the tapping ability. Whenever a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, you can put that +1/+1 counter onto this cache, like save it up. But you can move +1/+1 counters off of it by tapping it as a sorcery. So it comes with 2, so it automatically imparts 1, and then on the next turn you can put the other one there. And if creatures die, those one +1/+1 counter can go back on this. I think this is a really strong card. Petrify was huge for me. It didn't really have a lot of removal. This got blockers out of the way really well for me. So maybe not, sometimes it's better if you can just destroy or exile creatures, but petrifying them certainly did the job. Pathfinding Extra. I like this card. I think it's one of Green's better commons. Any of them that have Explore on them are going to be good. And if this Explores, becomes a 5/4, which is kind of difficult to deal with, frankly. 2 of them, which is great. Poison Dart Frog, awesome. Reach, can add 1 mana of any color. Give it Death Touch by paying 2. So this takes care of big flyers or big creatures with Death Touch. Soaring Sandwig is a 3/5 creature dinosaur. When it ETBs, you get 3 life. You can also plane cycle it for 2. And the 3/5 stat line was important to me for a couple of reasons, and I'll talk about that later. Basking Capybara. Descend 4. I think my only Descend card really that checks for how many permanents are in the graveyard. But if it has 4 in there, this thing becomes a 4/3 instead of a 1/3. But I didn't mind it being a 1/3 for a specific reason that I'll talk about later. Malamet Scythe. So all of these power and toughness boosters, I put a lot in my deck for a couple of reasons. Number 1, the flyers. You put these on the flyers, they become much more significant every turn. With their evasion, they can get in for damage. So any type of aura like this, or not aura, this one's an equipment, but equipment and aura does really good. Same thing with the Explore mechanic. Or never mind. The River Herald Guide, scratch what I just said. If you can get something else to explore, like a bird, then you can get +1/+1 counters. But for Explore, just for Explore's sake, this is probably one of Green's best commons. River Herald Guide. For 3 mana, you get a 3/1. Vigilance and it explores. So it could be a 4/2. Which feels pretty dangerous. Acrobatic Leap for just 1 mana. Something gets +1/+3. It untaps and it has flying. This is a great trick for my deck. The Iron Paw Aspirant. This puts a +1/+1 counter on ETB. Very themed. Here's a rare artifact I picked up. I used it once for its sort of Wrath ability. It says when Unstable Glyph Bridge ETBs, if you cast it for each player, choose a creature with power 2 or less from that player or that player controls, destroy everything else. So you pick something that you have that has power 2 or less, and they pick something that they have, and then everything else goes away. You can craft it with Artifact into Sand Swirl Wonder Glyph. This never happened, but it's a flying 5/3. Great. Whenever an opponent casts a spell during their turn, they can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. So if they cast anything, they can't attack. And if they attack you, then they can't cast spells. So this really locks them down a little bit. Makes it really inconvenient. Unfortunately, I never got this thing to work. Here's a biggie. The Bedrock Tortoise. As long as it's your turn, creatures you control have hexproof. That was a huge little line of text there. That means when I was attacking in, I couldn't get hit with like removal or things like that. And also, each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So this 0/6 actually just attacks it as a 6/6. That's great. So really powerful. And, there are cards like the Soaring Sandwig, which is a 3/5. So this actually comes in attacking as a 5/5 instead of a 3/5. And even the Basking Capybara would be a 3/3 instead of just a 1/3. So that's really cool. This really was amazing. Comes down for 4. Really nice value there. The Sovereign Okinik, or whatever. Hey, I don't know. A how has War 2. That was significant. And whenever Sovereign attacks, for each creature control with power greater than the creature's base power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on that creature equal to the difference. So, like I was saying, if something was able to explore, it already had a +1/+1 counter, which would make its power greater than its base power. This would get, basically, it doubles the counters on creatures that you have. And they don't even have to be attacking. This is the only thing that has to be attacking. So anything that gets counters, and I had a lot of cards that give counters, and not just counters, but also things like Acrobatic Leap. That makes something have base power higher than its base power, and then thus you could start putting +1/+1 counters. So before combat, I would do an Acrobatic Leap or play a trick. Usually do that during combat at instant speed, but I didn't do that. I did it so that when this attacked, everything got benefits. So like a Deconstruction Hammer, that would just add, +1/+1 counters for me. It would have +1/+1 and then get an additional +1/+1 counter, which is amazing. This also sacrificed to destroy artifacts and enchantments, which was extraordinarily useful in this set. And Family Reunion, even a card like this. I was iffy about this card, but it turned out to be great. Creatures get +1/+1, so I play this, then attack, get the trigger, everything is effectively +2/+2 with a +1/+1 that hangs around. And then I did use this gain hexproof until end of turn a couple times as well. So this just worked out extraordinarily well. But the big, heavy-hitting cards in this deck were the Bedrock Tortoise and the Sovereign Okinik Ahau. They did a phenomenal job, and I did actually draw them most of the time. So having them in the hand was just perfect. So for the troubles, I got 2 wins. You get pack per win +1 for being in the tournament. 3 packs of Lost Caverns of Ixalan set boosters. Let's just see what we get out of these. We got a Vampire art card, treasure token, River Herald Guide, so one of the stars in my own deck, Growing Rights of Itlimok. I think this is the Gaia's Cradle card, right? Yeah, add green for each creature you control. If you flip it, it kind of flips into a Gaia's Cradle. Cool. Inverted Iceberg, and then the rest are just uncommons and commons. So nothing really crazy there, but it's nice to get that sort of pseudo Gaia's Cradle as the rare. Next pack. Okay, we have some more art. Got these counter things. Blood Rage Mycoid foil, and then Sunken Citadel is a rare. And when it enters the battlefield tapped. You can choose a color. Tap it to add a mana of whatever that color is, or add 2 mana of the chosen color. Spend this mana only to activate ability of land sources. There's that. Oh, we got double rare. We got Obuelo in the alternate art. So that's cool. And then the rest is probably just uncommons and commons. All right, we're going to do our third pack, final pack here. Okay, more art there. Oh, this one we got a Mad Raider uncommon from the list. Oh, we got Anim Pakal, Thousandth Moon, rare foil. Cool. We got the Mythic Enigma Jewel. I'm not a huge fan of these types of Mythic and cards. Oh, we got Dino DNA, a rare from the Jurassic Park set. It says artifact. Imprint 1, exile target creature card from a graveyard, activate only as a sorcery. And then for 6 mana, create a token that's a copy of target creature card, exile with Dino DNA, except it's a 6/6 green dinosaur creature with trample. Activate only as a sorcery. Cool. Jade Seed Stones, and of course the rest are just your commons and uncommons out of the pack. And there you have it. Thanks for watching. Had a great time. Can't wait till the next draft. I'll see you then.